Okay, so again, we are starting with space, move, divide. Okay, and we are on page 22 in our journals. Page 22 in our journals. So everybody turn to space, move, divide.
I think so.
Now again, I will tell y'all, and I told my first period this today and math from here on out is going to be about as hard as you want it to be. Okay? So pretty much, this is how I explained it. What's 4 plus 4? It's 8. You could count on your fingers. You could count on your toes. You could know it in your brain. But you could also use a calculator, right? Which way is probably the fastest? Calculator. Okay? Because you had to learn it in order to get it memorized, right? So using your calculator probably is going to be the fastest way to approach these problems. Same thing here. Use your calculator when you can. It speeds up the process, okay? It leaves you less time to overanalyze and make this more difficult than it should be, okay? So here's our job for today. We are going to be solving to get every single thing into slope-intercept form. So our whole goal today is to get y equals mx plus b. Understand? It's that simple. We're trying to get our y by itself so that we can graph anything that they hand us. Okay? If you can get y by itself, you then know what? What's your m stand for? Your slope. And what's your b? So if you can get y by itself, you automatically know your slope, your y-intercept, and it's very easy to graph that, right? You start at your y-intercept, you rise over run, or you do the opposite. You connect the dots, you end in arrows. Sound good? So today, we're going to talk about solving standard form. Okay, do y'all remember what standard form looks like? Good, it has a lot of letters. Okay, we've got ax plus by equals c. And this is really hard to graph, right? Because you don't know anything from this equation. You're not given any information except for the fact that what and what are on the same side. Yeah, x and y are always on the same side in standard form. Okay? There is one shortcut you have learned about standard form. Now, I don't know if you remember it, but what's our slope shortcut for standard form? Good job, Sydney. Opposite of A over B. Okay? And what I'm going to do today is show you how to quickly get to that formula. Opposite of A over B. So if you look at number 1, these are going to be our jobs, and it's called space, move, divide. Instead of having to do our normal solving steps, what are our normal solving steps? Don't call me after dark. There's 5 steps, right? Instead of having to do all 5 steps, we're just going to space it out, move it, and divide it. So when I'm talking about space, I'm talking about spacing out our constants. What does a constant look like? What is a constant in math? Close. A variable is what? An x, a letter, right? What would a constant be? Just a number standing by itself. Constant just constantly stands alone. Okay? We're going to move our x's. We're used to that. We always move our x's. Okay? And then we're always going to divide at the very end, but we're going to divide by whatever's in front of our y. So we're going to space, move, divide. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to number these so that we remember we only have 3 steps. 1, 2, what? Y'all are so smart. Okay? So let's look. Is number 1 in standard form? How do you know? And your biggest hint here, guys, is that your x and your y are on the same side. Okay? So if x and y are on the same side, you can do 1, 2, 3. which means I can space, move, divide. And here's what this looks like. You're going to draw a line from your equal sign just like we always do. Which one of these is our constant? Your 8. So I'm going to take this constant and I'm literally going to space it out. What type of 8 is that? So in front of it, I'm going to write a plus sign. Does everybody see how I created a little bit of space? So I spaced out the 8. I'm done. My second step is to move the x's. The only way to move something is to make it jump the line. When you jump the line, you change the. So if it's positive 3x here, in order to move it, it becomes a minus 3x, negative 3x. Whatever you do to one side, you're going to do to the. And here's the deal. I created a space, so I'm just going to write it in the space I created. Pretty easy. I know it sounds silly right now, but you'll understand it here in a second. And your last step is to what? Divide. But before we do that, you're going to drop your 2y, and then you're going to divide by what number? 2. So your third step is kind of like a combination step. Drop and divide. Sound good? When I divide by 2 on the left side, what does that cancel to give me? Just plain old y. And that's what I wanted, right? Y by itself. Okay? What does this look like on the right side? Don't break my heart. So, in your calculator, because it's the fastest way to do it, we're going to say negative 3 divided by 2. And then we're going to press math enter because we need rise over runs. Well, that was easy. What is the little letter that sticks along with it? X, right? Now I've done one side of the heart. Don't forget to do the other side. What is 8 divided by 2? What type of 4? Make sure you put a plus there. Now, what format does this look like? Y equals mx plus b. Can you tell me what your slope is? And what's your b? Okay. So here's what I want y'all to also see. What did we say our slope shortcut was? Opposite of a over b. Let's go to the original problem. What would be my a? 3. What's the opposite of positive 3? And what's b? What'd you tell me my slope was? Okay. So there's where your shortcut comes from. Pretty simple? Okay, let's look here. First and foremost, we've got to see if we're in standard form. What tells me something's in standard form? Perfect. So now, if it is in standard form, we've got 1, 2, 3. Space, move, divide. So what do? What's my first step? Space out that 6. What type of 6 is it? So make sure you put a plus sign in front of it. And then I'm going to always move my x's. No matter where it's at, I move my x's. How do I move a positive 2x? Good. Whatever I do to one side, I'm going to do to the other. I'm just going to write it in the space I created. Yes, ma'am. Perfect. Come on in. And then we're just starting on our notes on page 22. Should be glued in. Okay? We've only done one example, but feel free to kind of catch up with us, okay? So, we moved our x. That means number 2 is done. What is number 3 again? Divide, but I've got to do what first? Drop and divide. It's a positive 3y, so I'm bringing down a positive 3y, and I'm going to divide by what number? 3. What? Pretty much, as long as your x and y are on the same sides. Okay, so what is left on the left side? What letter? Just plain old y. And then what do I have to not forget? Don't break my heart. What's negative 2 divided by 3? Math enter. Good job. X is going to tag along. Don't forget to let them. What about 6 divided by 3? Positive 2. So again, what's my slope? What's my y-intercept? Okay, if we had used my shortcut, what would the opposite of 2 be? And what's b? So negative 2 over 3. Got it? Okay, let's look at number 3. It looks a little different. Because my job is to make sure my x and y are on the same sides, right? Are they? No, they're already separated. If they're already separated, that means I have to revert to the long way, which means I have to use don't call me after dark. Is there anything to distribute up here? Yes. What am I distributing? Perfect. So what's 3 times 2x? And what's 3 times negative 1? Did I distribute on the left side? No, so make sure you just rewrite it. Now, looking at your left side, can I combine y minus 4? Can I combine 6x minus 3? So is there anything to combine? Nope. What variable am I trying to get alone? My y, right? Always y equals. So it's already on the left side. Do I need to be moving it anywhere? Nope. Is there anything I can add or subtract away from y to get it to be alone? How do I get rid of a negative 4? I add 4. Good job. Whatever I do to one side, I'm going to do to the good. And that leaves me with y equals what? 6x plus 1. Is there anything to divide? Nope. So I'm done. What's my slope? And what's my y-intercept? Pretty easy? Not too difficult, right? Okay, but do you see how it's a little longer when we have to do the don't call me after dark? Yeah, I keep forgetting to do that. So I just box my answers instead. Let's look at number 4. Is this standard form? How do you know? So what steps can I use? 1, 2, 3. I'm going to draw my line from my equal sign. What's my first step? Space out a negative 4. So make sure you write a minus 4 out there. And then what's my next step? Move my x. Well, right now it's a positive x. How do I get it to move? Negative x. It's just going to go in that space I created. And what's my last step? What type of 2y? Good. So bring down that negative 2y, and then I'm going to divide by what number? Perfect. And now I've just got to make sure I simplify. So I've got y equals, don't break my heart. What's that understood number in front of x? Okay, so what's negative 1 divided by negative 2? Good. Turns positive. And x is going to tag along. Don't forget it. Don't forget it. That's what I've noticed a lot of my students are doing is they're forgetting to let that x tag along. Okay? And what's negative 4 divided by negative 2? Positive 2. And negative divided by negative is going to turn positive. So what's my slope? And what's my y-intercept? Pretty easy. Hard? Easy? How do you feel? We good? Because y'all are about to race me here in a second. For homework checks. Homework classes. Whoa, whoa. Okay. So looking at the next problem, is it standard form? Yes. So what can I use? 1, 2, 3. We've got space, move, divide. So what am I going to do first? Space out a positive 1. Then what? How am I going to move a positive 3x? Good. Y'all are getting quiet on me. I know it's because y'all are working ahead, but stay with me for a second. Drop down what? What type of y? Negative y. What do I divide by? When I divide by a negative 1, what does that do to everybody's signs? It flips it. That's the only thing that changes. So instead of a negative y, I've now got a. Instead of a negative 3x, I've now got a. And instead of a positive 1, I now have a. Pretty easy. So what's my slope? Perfect. Rise over run. And what's my y-intercept? Negative 1. Mr. Nate, we just got we're halfway through our space move divide notes on page 22. Feel free to join in with us, okay? And you can turn that test into the box. Number 6. First and foremost, I got to look for an X and a Y. Are they on the same side? No, I'm missing something, aren't I? It's completely gone. So remember, if something's completely gone, that tells me these are a special case. What are our 2 special cases for slopes? Hoi or Vux. But here's the deal. You told me what letter was missing. So guess what it can't be? Can't be Vux. You only have one option. That means we've got to get Y all by itself for Hoi. Okay? So, because I don't have an X, I can't 1, 2, 3 it. I have to what? Yeah, unfortunately. Right? Okay, distribute. Anything to distribute? What is that? Good job. Did I distribute on the left side at all? Nope. Bring it down. Can I combine a Y and a 6? Can I combine anything with 18? Nope. Do I need to move a variable if I already have my Y's on the left side? Nope. Can I add or subtract anything away from my Y? What? So how do I get a positive 6 to go away? Good. What's 18 minus 6? Good. My last step is to divide. What am I going to divide by? And what is Y going to equal? Did I get Y by itself? Is this a Hoi situation? Okay, so now listen. I got to pause this for a second. So y'all raced through these 3, and so you should understand them. And because you understand them, you now get to walk me through them. Okay? So, number 7. Tell me what to do. 1, 2, 3. What does that mean? Space, move, divide. There are steps, okay? So, what's my first step? Okay, so space out negative 15. Good job, way not to forget that negative sign. Then what? Perfect. So I'm going to subtract 3x because when I jump that line, I change the sign. Okay? And then the last step is to? Perfect. I'm going to drop negative 5y down, and then I'm going to divide by negative 5. Perfect. So that cancels, and it leaves me with what on the left side? Y equals. Then on the right side, I don't break the heart, right? So what's negative 3 divided by negative 5? And I'm going to let what tag along? Good. What's negative 15 divided by negative 5? What type of 3? So what's my slope? 3 over 5. And what is my y-intercept? Good. So are we okay with this? Okay. Number 8. Is this standard form? Yes, because why? Great job. X and Y are on the same side. So I've got steps 1, 2, and 3 again, I guess. Would you agree? Okay. Talk me through this. What do I do? Space out my 0. Could I put a plus 0 or a minus 0? Does it matter? 0 is just 0, right? Okay. So I spaced it out. That's step 1. What do I always move? My x's. So how do I move a 2x? Good. Whatever I do to one side, I'm going to do to the. Great job. And then my last step is to drop and what? Good. So 5 divided by 5 cancels. I get y equals. What's negative 2 divided by 5? Good. Who tags along? X. What's 0 divided by 5? Do I have to put that? I don't have to. I know some of y'all did, but you don't have to, because plus 0 just means it goes through the what? Origin. So this is also considered a direct variation. Okay? Because remember, anything that goes through the origin is a direct variation. Let's look at this last problem. Is x and y on the same side? Yes. But there's a problem, isn't there? There's something extra. How do I get rid of something being added? Just subtract it. Once I've subtracted that, I've got 6x minus 5y equals what? Now, does this look like space, move, divide? Okay. So we've got 1, 2, 3. So what y'all said earlier is I'm going to space out whatever number this is. I guess I'm going to write a negative sign in front of it. Is that okay? Okay. Then I'm going to move those x's. The way I move something is to do the opposite. So it's going to be minus 6x on both sides. Are y'all okay with that so far? Okay. And then I'm going to drop down negative 5y and divide by negative 5. Is that okay? Now, my negatives cancel here, so I'm left with just a y. And here, what do I have? Positive 6 over 5, because negative divided by negative turns positive. X is going to tag along. Again, I've got a negative divided by negative, so that's going to be a positive what? Good, positive 6. So what's my slope? And what would be my y-intercept? How do y'all feel about this? Okay.
What happens if they're opposite, like y is in front and x?
You still always only move your x's. Okay. So great question. If it said like 6y minus 5x, you would always still move your x's no matter what it is. Does that help everybody? Okay. So now let's look at our next part of our notes. Let me get